aking trip. 7K. Okay. Open your manuals to chapter 3, our absorption. Okay. So yesterday, we talked about the general process of our pharmacokinetics. And we also talked about drug sampling. Now, we're going to move on to the first pharmacokinetic parameter and the most important pharmacokinetic parameter, which is our absorption. So our absorption is generally the first step towards all biologic processes in the body. Liberation does happen first. However, liberation is designed outside the body. Ang ating liberation, we can manipulate liberation through various methods, such as manipulating the formulation for a better dissolution, a better disintegration. However, in absorption, it is purely from the physicochemical properties of our drug. So first, drugs may be given in various routes of administration. As you may be already familiar with, marami tayong routes of administration. Makikita ninyo sa inyong manual na meron tayong table of various routes. Okay? Meron tayong oral, meron tayong dermal, meron tayong anal, meron tayong urethral, vaginal, inhalational, etc. Okay? Lahat ng routes of administration na yon ay isa lang naman ang goal. Mapapasok yung gamot sa katawan. And the main factors that govern how well a drug can enter through that administration site is blood flow. Gaano ka daming blood vessel meron sa area na yon? Take for example, rectal. Rectal is actually a good way to administer drugs because the rectum is actually very perfused with blood. The main problem is magsasaksak ka ng suppository sa puwet. Pangalawa, physicochemical properties of the drug and the drug product. Not all drugs can be formulated to a certain route of administration. Katulad ng inhalational. Napakadali sana kung halos lahat ng ating gamot ay pwedeng inhalational compared sa IV. Okay? Maganda kasi sa inhalational, pagkabigay mo, lungs, diretsyong puso. Hindi yung dadaan ng liver. Kaso, ang downside, meron tayong physicochemical requirement sa ating gamot. Particle size. Hindi pwedeng sobrang bigat ng gamot na inhalational. Otherwise, it will not perfuse through the lungs. Pangalawa, irritability and other factors pa. Okay? Kaya class, mapapansin nyo, may mga ibang gamot na wala talagang oral, walang tablet, walang capsule. Ang meron lang talaga ay IV. Ibig sabihin nun, pangit talaga yung kanyang physicochemical properties that it cannot be administered through conventional means. And finally, is any pathophysiologic condition at the absorption site. May mga cases class na hindi pwede tayong magbigay ng gamot. Depende kung saan mo ilalahin. Like for example, transdermal. Pero may sugat. Obviously, bawal yon. Isa pang condition or isa pang example, if you try to go to a dentist, then kayo ay magpapabunot, then inflamed yung inyong gums, hindi pwede yon. Bakit? Kasi hindi gagana yung anesthesia. The anesthesia will not be as effective as regular conditions of the gums. Okay po? Okay. Now, sa lahat class ng route of administration, isa lang or dalawa, or basta parenteral, diretsyong veins, basta IV, ang advantage nito, wala siyang absorption phase. IV medications, when administered, has no absorption phase. Kasi, pag sinabi nating absorption, ito yung process ng pagpasok ng gamot sa dugo. Kung diretsyo nang sa dugo mo nilagay, wala na pong absorption. May mga tanong sa board exam na ilalagay, which of the following has the fastest absorption? Ilalagay IV. Bago yung isa, pagpalagay na sublingual, rapidly dissolving tablet. Pag sinagot nyo po ay IV, mali po kayo. Kasi walang absorption ang IV. Ang meron ay any extraparenteral routes. Pero pag IV, walang absorption diretso sa ating blood. It begs the question, bakit hindi po lahat ng gamot IV na lang para madali ang buhay? Di hassle magbigay. Lagi kang magsasaksak sa veins. Ayos lang sana kung hospitalized ka. Pero kung ikay ambulatory, it is a very large inconvenience. Okay. So, after a drug is absorbed, pagpalagay na na-absorb na, distribution and clearance will follow normal physiologic conditions. Maraming gamot ang hindi na-administer orally, primarily because of either hindi talaga siya na-absorb sa GI tract, masyadong malaki para ma-absorb, hindi siya stable sa GI tract. Pag iniinom mo, nasisira. Bakit wala tayong oral na insulin? Bakit wala tayong oral na insulin? Insulin is one of the most important drugs in the world. However, we don't have any alternative dosage form aside from subcutaneous, IV, and inhalational. Na bago lang yung inhalational. Bagong re-release. It's because if you give insulin, which is a protein, into the GI tract, what happens to proteins inside the GI tract? It gets digested. Kaya hindi naman po namimili ang inyong GI tract, uy, gamot to. Hindi ko gagalawin to. Hindi. They are all digested equally. Kaya mababa po ang bioavailability ng ating insulin. So yun po yung main reason bakit hindi. Instability. May mga gamot din po na mabilis ang first pass effect. Okay, let's explain first pass effect na. First pass effect is the phenomenon in which oral drugs and other routes, certain routes of administration, when absorbed, before being distributed, it passes through the liver. And after it passes through the liver, na-metabolize na siya. Kaya po, first pass effect. Usually, anatomic kasi yon. Take for example, itong GI tract ninyo. Lahat halos ng blood vessels that perfuse the GI tract ultimately leads to the hepatic portal vein, that is a large vein, in which dadaan talaga siyang liver bago pagkatapos ng... Saan ba liver? Nandito. Hindi, nandito. Pag katapos niyang dumaan ng liver, aakyat siya sa puso. Pagkadaan ng puso, saka siya madidistribute. Okay? So, ang tawag doon, first pass effect. Pwedeng, yung gamot ay talagang ubos ng ubos. Unang daan pa lang sa liver, wala na. Metabolize na lahat. Pwede rin pong efflux transporters. Ang ating efflux transporters, I will discuss later, but basically, para siyang guard na pinapalabas yung gamot. Oops, labas muna ikaw. Ganon. Okay? Hindi ka naka-uniform, labas muna. Okay? Other cases naman, bakit hindi oral? Because some drugs are intended for intended for local effects. Example, lidocaine or yung mga zinc oxide, for local effects lang po yun. Please take note, meron po tayong mga gamot na iniinom pero hindi systemic yung effect. Take for example, psyllium fiber, cholestyramine, colestipol, ating antacids. That is only for local effect, not intended to be absorbed into the body. Okay, yan po yung nasa inyong libro. Okay. Are, pag ito naintindihan nyo na ay tapos na ang pharmacokinetics. Joke lang. You get the general grasp of pharmacokinetics on this table. Okay. Tingin. Meron ba nito picture sa inyo? Wala. Hindi ko nilagay. Sige, tingin. Ito, mammillary model ito. Pinag-usapan natin ito kahapon. So this is a simplification of all the properties or all the processes that happens in pharmacokinetics. Magsimula tayo dito. Magbibigay ka ng gamot. Let's have a tablet. After mong uminom ng gamot, saan siya papatak? Sa stomach. Anong nangyayari sa stomach? Nag-disintegrate. Di ba? Nag-run kayo ng disintegration test sa QC2. Nag-QC2 na kayo, di ba? Yung simulation yon. Pero that is what happens to drugs. Habang nalulusaw siya, lumalabas yung gamot. Nag-diso din kayo. Ata. So tapos, makalaya ng ating gamot. From our solid dosage form, it becomes solution. Okay? After it becomes solution, ang sunod na process is absorption. Absorption is defined as the entry of drug towards the central compartment, which is our, ano ating central compartment? Blood. Basta makaabot siya sa blood absorption po yon. Okay? Ngayon, pagka-absorb, nasa dugo na siya. Ang dugo sa inyong katawan ay everywhere. Meaning, marami siyang pupuntahan. The key thing here is it does not go to places in order. Hindi siya magbabahay-bahay. Pagkapatak niya sa central compartment, kakalat siya. Hindi siya sunod-sunod, isang bagsakan, kung saan siya makaabot, nandun siya. Okay? Imagine nyo, nagpatak kayo ng colorant sa tubig, hindi naman siya isang linyang umiikot. Pagkapatak niya, kakalat siya. Ganun din po ang gamot. Pagpatak sa central compartment, kakalat yan sa katawan. Ang nagpupush ng gamot ay actually yung blood flow. Kaya kung saan may dugo, may gamot doon. So ito ang mga possible niyang puntahan. Una, doon tayo sa importante. Makakarating siya kung saan natin kailangan. Take for example, gamot sa puso, saan natin kailangan? Sa puso. So eventually, mararating din po yung ating receptors. Ngayon, pwedeng may mga bound, merong mga free, pwedeng nasaturate, pwedeng hindi nasaturate. Pero essentially, makakarating siya sa kanyang dapat puntahan. Ngayon, hindi po siya permanent doon. Pag nakarating siya sa kanyang dapat puntahan, since sumasakay lang din naman siya sa dugo, babalik din yung dugo eventually. So parang iikot siya, kung kumapit man siya doon, di okay, gagana yung gamot. Kung hindi siya kumapit, di babalik siya sa central. Okay, so ganon, babalik. Saan na naman sunod tayo pwedeng pumunta? Pwede tayong pumunta sa ating tissues. Pwedeng mag-accumulate yung gamot doon. Pwedeng magtago siya. Pwede siyang pumasok sa muscle, sa fats. Basta mataas yung affinity ng gamot doon, pwede siya doon mag-accumulate. Later, we will discuss that in distribution. So, pwede siya magtago sa tissues. Again, basta dinadaan ng dugo, babalik din po ulit yan sa gitna. Saan naman tayo sunod pwedeng pumunta? Unwanted sites of action. Nag-aral kayo ng PICOL, di ba? Bakit ang ANS drugs ay napakadaming side effect? Di ba? Pag nag-list ka, example, epinephrine, napakadaming side effect nun. Or acetylcholine, napakadaming side effect nun. Kasi, maraming receptor sa katawan. Hindi kayo pwedeng mamili ng receptor. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Ang exemption doon, if your drug is specifically designed to only bind to a certain receptor, doon lang siya gagana. Pero examples of general drugs such as ANS, basta may receptor sa katawan at naaabot ng dugo, kakapit yon. Kaya pag nabigay tayo ng ANS drugs, ay talpukan ang side effect. Kasi hindi naman pwede, gusto ko sa puso lang. Ay hindi pwede. Meron sa lungs, gagana yan sa lungs. Kaya tayo meron mga unwanted sites of action. Sunod, ibabalik din po ulit yon. Nandito na ulit tayo. Pwede naman siyang saan mapadpad? Sa liver. Eventually, lahat ng gamot, pampapadpad ng liver. Kasi napakalaking blood flow ng liver. So, ikot ng ikot sa katawan, pagdaan sa liver, mame-metabolize siya. Pag na-metabolize siya, yung metabolites, it's either diretsong kidneys or babalik ng dugo, then eventually pupunta rin kidneys. Kapag naman po, pumunta na siyang kidneys, ilalabas na siya, ihihi nyo na. And that is the general process of pharmacokinetics. Lahat ng kinuwento kong yon, sabay-sabay nangyayari. At ginagamit natin yung information na yon para matansya gano'n ba kadami ang kailangan nating ibigay to reach a certain concentration. Kasi pag sala ang bigay natin, it's either sobrang bilis ma-eliminate, pwedeng naiipon sa kung saan-saan, or pwedeng na-metabolize agad. Or pag kulang, ay hindi naaabot ng ayos ang needed na concentration. So this is the summary of the Ladmer processes. May hindi ako na-discuss, itong protein-bound drugs. Proteins are kasama ng dugo. It's within the plasma. Pwede rin po siya mag-bind doon, similar to how it binds to tissues. May question po sa Ladmer processes? Wala. Okay, let's continue. Okay. So, extravasculars. So, when a drug is administered extravascularly, meaning wala po siya sa veins, marami munang mangyayari dapat. Una, tatagos muna dapat siya sa systemic circulation. Tandaan nyo, kapag hindi kayang tumagos ng gamot sa systemic circulation or sa blood, it doesn't work. Kasi, kailangan makasakay muna siyang dugo bago siya makarating sa ating receptors. If it fails to be absorbed, it fails to be effective. Then after which, makakarating siya sa site of action. Now, in our lecture today, we would be focusing on oral drug absorption. We would be focusing on oral kasi unified naman po ang principles ng absorption. Kung anong principles ng oral, yun din po ang principles ng iba't ibang parts of the body. So let's just focus on oral, which is the most important one anyway. So even if nagpalit tayo ng physiology ng isang lugar, the principles is the same. Okay. Now, for absorption, the main part of absorption, remember, is that the drug enters systemic circulation, or our drug enters the bloodstream. Now, ang kalaban natin, or ang kalaban ng drug, bago makapasok ay cells. We are made out of cells. So, pagpalagay sa ating GI tract, Itong GI tract ninyo, ito ang gamot, ito yung dugo, kailangan niyang tumagos. Yun lang naman yun eh. Kailangan niyang tumagos ng ating GI tract. Ay ang ating GI tract ay made out of cells. So, the properties of the drug should make it that it can traverse through the cell membrane. Okay? In terms of the nature of cell membranes, ganito po iyon. Pagpalagay na are ang ating GI, ito ang ating blood. Ang goal ng ating absorption ay from here to here. Naintindihan po? Naintindihan? Ngayon, kapag nag-zoom in tayo, gandang zoom in. Ang ating cells ay parang naka-dikit-dikit. Ganyan. Oh, ganda ng aking staphylococcus. Oh, streptococcus. Okay. Meron tayong two main ways of traversing. Meron tayong intracellular at meron tayong paracellular. Tama? Okay. Kapag intracellular, yun yung mahirap. Tag-usan yun. Tatag-usin niya talaga yung cell. Yun ang intracellular. Kapag paracellular, yung maliit na gaps between the cells dun sa dumadaan. Yung meron kasing parang may maliit na space, hindi naman po ultimately dikit na dikit yon. Kaso ang problema, ang pwede lang doon sa paracellular ay mga maliliit na gamot. Small molecular weight drugs such as urea, yung mga molecular weights of less than 100. So most of the time, intracellular ang pagtagos ng ating gamot sa cell membrane. Okay. So that is why it is important that we understand the nature of the cell membrane. Okay? So ito po yung transcellular at ito yung paracellular. Transcellular pala, hindi intracellular. Okay. So the nature of our cell membranes dictates what drugs enter and exit the cell. If you recall your anatomy and physiology or your pathophysiology, the cell membrane is defined as a semi-permeable lipid bilayer. It is a semi-permeable lipid bilayer. Semi-permeable meaning hindi siya sobrang absolute flowing. Namimili siya. Kaya po semi-permeable. The second part is lipid bilayers. Okay? Pag sinabi naman natin lipid bilayer, gantong itsura niya pag zoom in. Itong model na to, ito yung description talaga. It is a phospholipid bilayer. Meron tayong phosphorus head and meron tayong lipid tail. Hindi po yan sperm, yan po ay isang triglyceride. Okay? Pero bilayer siya, so doble. It is a phospholipid bilayer. Okay? Meaning your cell membrane is made out of a polar head, such as phosphorus, and a lipid tail. Ngayon, observe. Alin ang mas mahaba in terms of width? Yung tail o yung head? Yung tail. It means that majority of your cell membrane is lipids. It is non-polar. Okay? Tandaan nyo ba, ang like dissolves like. na pag pinagpatak mo ang tubig at langis, ay hindi sila maghahalo. Tama. Ganon din po sa cell membrane, kapag nagpatak ka ng gamot, depending on the polarity of your drug, it is directly proportional to how well it can enter the cell membrane. Kasi ang bulto ng ating cell membrane ay lipid. The more lipid soluble your drug is, the better it can cross this cell membrane. O isulat nyo yon, itaga nyo sa bato. Hindi magbabago iyon. Pagtaas ng lipid solubility, pagbilis ma-absorb or pagganda ng absorption. At pagtaas ng water solubility, the less it is absorbed. Minsan, kita na agad sa drug development, napaka non-polar nito. Napaka non-polar nito, mabilis tong ma-absorb. Pero pag tinignan din yung structure, naku, polar to. Mahirap tong ma-absorb. Kailangan nating baguhin yung structure para maging non-polar siya. Naintindihan? Okay? Kaya yung makakakita tayo ng gamot na sobrang bilis ma-absorb, katulad ng organophosphates, your poisons, VX, sarin, ecothiopate, yung mga organic pesticides, yun, kahit sa skin na-absorb. Kasi sobrang taas ng kanyang lipid solubility, kahit skin lang, tagos sa blood mo yun. Okay? So that is the importance of polarity. So garne, ang itsura ng ating cell membrane. Okay? Dinrawing lang ng ayos, pero yun din naman. Kita nyo, makapal yung ating lipid layer. I am not saying that it is the only property to be considered, but what I am saying, it is one of the most important properties to consider. May mga ibang paraan naman ang gamot para makapasok ng katawan, pero yung binanggit ko, yun yung pinaka-common. May tanong po ba? Wala. Okay? Sa mga nanonood, kawawa naman yung mga hindi taga Batangas. At may punto ang nagtuturo. Okay? Ngayon, hindi naman po perfectly flat ang ating cell membrane. May mga receptors po yan, may mga channels, may mga proteins po diyan. Yung mga yun yung alternative ways of entry to the cell membrane. Like for example, this one. Yan. Lahat ito ay alternative ways ng pagpasok ng cell membrane. Joke lang po yan, hindi nyo sasawluhin yan. Okay? Pero pinapakita ko lang na maraming transporters available. Okay. So again, passage of drugs across cell membranes. Passive diffusion is the major way of drug absorption. Passive diffusion is the major way of drug absorption. Yun na yung safe bet natin lagi. How is a drug absorbed? Most likely, 95% of the time, is passive diffusion. At sa passive diffusion, ang pinaka-importante ay lipophilicity. The more lipophilic your drug is, the better it is absorbed. So again, if you are not familiar with passive diffusion is diffusion passively. Like, walang energy na ginagamit. Across a membrane, katulad ng garne, ganito po ang passive diffusion ha. Marami dito. In passive diffusion, the concentration of a solute goes from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. So in passive diffusion, hanggat mataas dito, ang tendency ng gamot pumunta dun sa mas mababa. At what makes passive diffusion important, it doesn't require energy. It doesn't require any transporters. Kusa siyang nangyayari. Pagtabihin mo ang dalawang solution, harangan mo ng membrane, kung saan mataas, bababa siya doon sa mas mababa. Maliwanag po ba? Okay. Asa kayo. Pero ganito ang panahon nga ang summer class. Summer class. Dati walang summer class. Like, nung curriculum namin, first sem, second sem, summer may duty, pero walang klase. Ang kailangan mo lang gawin, dumuti ng 200 hours, so isang buwan yon, then magpe-first sem ka na. So, sa first year, community, second year, hospital, third year ay industry. Sa fourth year, may klase. Parang regular year siya. Pero, meron kang 360 hours na kailangan tapusin habang fourth year ka. So, mangyayari habang fourth year ka, na-duty ka tuwing weekends, or kapag holidays, or kapag bakasyon. Hindi katulad ngayon, ang buong fourth year mo ay duty lamang. Okay? Ang disadvantage nun sa amin, hanggang fourth year kami, may klase. Ang disadvantage ninyo, summer nyo, may ACADS. Okay? So again, passive diffusion is the major way of absorption for most drugs. It is the movement of drugs from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. Tamad. Okay. So ganyan po yung itsura ng passive diffusion. Pero mas accurate yung kanina na may cell membrane. Yan, my favorite F word. Fick's. So Fick's law of diffusion governs the rate of diffusion. Fick's law of diffusion governs the rate of diffusion. Okay? Dito, nakasummarize lahat ng factors that affects drug absorption. Tingnan natin, isa-isahin. Nasa manual nyo po yan. So, dC over dt is the rate of diffusion. Ano ang nasa taas? dAk over H. Ano ang D? D is the diffusion coefficient. It is related to the physicochemical properties of your drug. Ano yung A? Surface area. Surface area is the area of a surface. Literal, kung gaano kalapad yung membrane na tatag-usan niya. So, take for example, lagay. Hindi ko man sinabi. Okay. Hindi. Yeah. Okay. Take for example, garne. Okay. Isipin nyo na lang garne. Kung sa isang box ay 4 ang butas, so ang makakatag-os at a single time is 4 at a time. Tama. Pag tumaas or pag lumaki ang surface or ang area, magiging siyam ang kasya. So, ang makakatagos, 9 at a time. So, paglapad ng surface, paglaki ng area, pagbilis or pagdami ng space para makatagos yung gamot. So, that is surface area. Pero, hindi po siya rectangle, hindi rin po siya cylinder. Ang surface area ay irregular na shape ng inyong GI tract. Ang may pinakamalaking surface area ay ang inyong small intestine. Kasi bukod sa mahaba siya, meron siyang maliliit na parang cilia, your villi and your microvilli, which greatly increases surface area. So isulat nyo na, the organ with the highest surface area is the small intestine. In particular, the duodenum. Paste this. Okay. Sunod. DAK. K is your lipid water coefficient. So your lipid water coefficient, dinidiscuss ko pala dapat sunod-sunod siya. Yan. Your lipid water coefficient is simply a ratio of how well your substance dissolves in water compared to how well your substance dissolves in fat. The higher the lipid water coefficient, the more it dissolves in lipids. The lower the lipid water coefficient, the less soluble it is in lipids. So if you recall, your OrgMed, yung unang chapter natin, ay pag-discuss paano dinidetermine ang lipid water coefficient. Pwedeng tinitingnan sa structure, pwedeng experimental. Kung naaalala ninyo. Okay? So ito na yung sukat talaga ng lipophilicity. The more lipophilic your drug is, the mas mataas ang inyong lipid water coefficient. Ang tamad. Yan. Ito yung sa surface area, yung sinasabi ko kanina. Ang pinakamalaking surface area ay sa ating small intestine. Ngayon, yung nasa ilalim, the DAK over H. Ang letter H, or ang ating H, is the membrane thickness. Gaano kakapal yung ating membrane na tatag-usan ng gamot. Pag mas makapal, mas mahirap makatagos ang gamot. Like for example, garne. Kung isang layer lang yon, edi okay, di ba? Pero kung dalawa na, it takes twice as hard. Kung tatlo, it takes thrice as hard. Ngayon, for simplicity, it is safe to assume that within the body, cell membrane thickness is the same, except for your CNS. Your CNS, or your central nervous system, actually has a special coating of glial cells that protects our CNS from being penetrated by drugs. So ating CNS kasi, it's so mission critical, hindi siya pwedeng basta-basta patsukin ng gamot or any poison or synbiotic. Kaya, it's by design, makapal ang cell membrane niya. Only the most non-polar of drugs can enter the cell membrane, the blood-brain barrier. Kung hindi man siya non-polar, baka maliit ang kanyang particle size or ang kanyang molecular weight. But in any case, maraming gamot ang hindi makakatagos ng blood-brain barrier. Kung nakakatagos man siya, expect nyo na meron siyang CNS effects. Like for example, yung inyong mga, may isang gamot sa puso na nagkokos ng nightmares. If I'm not mistaken, that's propranolol ata. Nagkokos ng nightmares pag tinitake. Because it can penetrate the blood-brain barrier. Nabagay ko na yan. Okay. Ngayon, since in the usual conditions, hindi naman po magbabago ang conditions ng ating GI tract. Alam natin ang diffusion constant sa gamot. Alam natin ang area, surface area. Alam din natin ang ating lipid water coefficient at alam natin ang ating cell membrane thickness. We can combine this all into letter P. What is that letter P? That is your perfusion coefficient or your permeability coefficient. So P equals dAk over H. And this is the updated Fick's law of diffusion. Okay? Now, may question ako. At may question talaga ako. Nakasulat ba sa libro? Yung yan. Yan pala. Tama. Tingnan nyo yung, yung inyong libro. Tingnan nyo yung pinakaunang formula ng Fick's law. Nakita? Okay. Tingnan nyo itong updated. Ang nawala ay yung D, yung A, yung K, at yung H. Naging P. In-explain ko naman kung bakit. Pero, dun sa original, nakalagay CGI minus CB. CB? P. Plasma. Okay. Ang ibig sabihin ng CGI ay concentration in the GI tract. Ang ibig sabihin ng CP ay concentration in the plasma. Okay. So, bakit nawala yon? Tingin din eh. Ito ang inyong dugo. Mali. Bobo. Are ang inyong GI tract. Are ang inyong blood or ang inyong plasma. According to diffusion, di ba? And the definition of passive diffusion is it is the movement of solute particles from one side of the membrane to another from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. So pagpalagay na mataas dito, pag tumagos dito sa blood, kokonti dito, di ba? So sa diffusion, pag malaki yung difference, pag mas madami dito at mas kokonti dito, mabilis siyang papasok. Okay? Kasi binabalanse yun eh. Diffusion is an equilibrium process. Ang gagawin niya, babalansehin niya both sides of the membrane. So, pag kokonti dito, mabilis. Kaya yung original na formula, pinagmaminus yung CGI at saka yung CP. Because the greater the difference, the faster the diffusion is. Sulat niyo yun. The greater the difference, the faster the diffusion is. So kung ganun, class, kung ang mangyayari ay tumataas yung gamot sa other side of the barrier, kung naging mag-equal, possible po na mag-backflow yung gamot pabalik ng GI tract. Possible po yon. Pag magkasing dami na ng gamot from your GI to your blood, pwedeng mag-backflow yung gamot. At essentially, ang magiging net transfer is 0. Okay? So, sinasabi ng formula na yon, habang tumataas ang concentration sa kabilang side, bumabagal. Pero pag tiningnan nyo yung updated na Fick's law, tinanggal na yung CP. The reason why CP was removed is that it became negligible. Like, sobrang liit ng CP na kahit ipag-minus mo ang concentration ng GI at ang concentration ng plasma ay malapit pa rin siya sa 1. Paano nangyari? Yun ay naiipon yung gamot. Hindi po naiipon ang gamot sa kabilang side ng membrane. Ito ang inyong GI, ito ang inyong blood. The moment that your drug enters the bloodstream, madadala yan ng blood far away. Nagalaw ang dugo eh. So, bawat liban, dala ng dugo. Essentially, the concentration of drug here is approximately 0. Hindi nag-a-accumulate ang dugo doon sa site of absorption. Kasi continuously nadaloy ang dugo. Kaya essentially, pwede na nating tanggalin sa equation yung concentration of our bloodstream or our plasma. Hence, when considering diffusion, we only need to consider the concentration in the GI tract. Kuha? Alien? Alien. Old joke yon. Kilala nyo ba yon? Ang kanyang pinaparody lagi mga pastor. Pag nahalungkat ko yung video, ang kanyang pinaparody ay yung dating daan. Okay. Next. Papasok na tayo sa weak acids and weak bases. So aside from polarity, ang isa ring factor na kailangan i-consider ay ang ating acidity or basicity. Most of our drugs are weakly acidic or weakly basic. Now, according to the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation of ionization, yan. Pinakompute ko to sa inyo dati ng OrgMed. Hindi ko na kayo pagkakomputin ngayon. Pero, tandaan, kapag ang isang weakly acidic drug ay nasa acidic environment, it becomes unionized. The same is true kapag weakly basic drug in a basic environment, it is also unionized. Okay. Weak acid plus acid, unionized. 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 Kapag weak base plus base, unionized. Kapag weak acid in base, it becomes ionized. Kapag weak base in acid, it becomes ionized. The rule is, if your substance is ionized, it is polar. Polar, may charge eh. Pag ionized, may charge. Pag may charge, may polarity. Kapag polar ka, you are water-soluble. At kung ikaw ay water-soluble sa diffusion, you are less absorbable. The opposite is true. Kung ikaw ay unionized, ikaw ay non-polar. Kung ikaw ay non-polar, ikaw ay lipid-soluble. Kung ikaw ay lipid-soluble, you are better absorbed. Hence, kapag ang acid, ang weakly acidic drug is placed in an acidic environment like your stomach, it is more absorbable there. However, if you have a weakly acidic drug in a basic environment like your small intestine, it is less absorbable there. Naiintindihan? Kapag weakly basic drug, saan siya best absorbable? Sa intestine. Kasi base sa base. Base ay intestine, ang stomach ay acidic. Kapag weakly basic nilagay sa stomach, it is less absorbable. Acid sa acid, base sa base. Kapag hindi pareho, hindi masyadong absorbable. Listen to the wording of the phrase. I'm not saying hindi absorbable. What I'm saying is less absorbable. The statement earlier in which the small intestine is still the best place for absorption, or it is the area in which most drug is absorbed, is still true. Kasi kahit hindi siya masyadong absorbable, sa sobrang laki ng surface area, doon pa rin siya na-absorb. So if the statement, where is aspirin and weakly acidic drug best absorbed, saan nyo ilalagay? Best, hindi most. Sa stomach. Where is it most absorbed? Small intestine. Kapag weakly basic drug like phenytoin, where is it best absorbed? Intestine, kasi basic. Kapag where is it most absorbed? Intestine pa rin. The intestine is still the place where most absorption occurs. Okay? Pero class, kapag hindi na GI tract ang usapan, itong weakly acidic, weakly basic, dyan magkakagatan. Take for example, yung example ko kanina. Ano yung sabi ko dun sa dentista? Kapag paga, yung inyong gums, hindi gagana ng local anesthetic. Bakit? Ang pagpaga ang isang area, acidic yon. Dahil ng maraming arachidonic acid. Ang inyong local anesthesia ay basic. So, pag sinaksak mo ang weakly basic local anesthesia sa inflamed gums na weakly acidic, hindi pantay. Acid sa base sa acid. So, ano mangyayari? Siya ay ionized. Pag ionized, hindi ma-absorb. Pag hindi ma-absorb, hindi gagana. Kaya hindi ka pwedeng bunutan ng pagang iyong gums kasi hindi gagana ang anesthesia. Hindi gagana ang anesthesia kasi hindi makapasok ng cell membrane yung lidocaine. Naintindihan po? Okay, very good. Hey, pagod na ako. Let's take a 10-minute break. Punta ako sa labas. Shut your eyes.
Hindi, wala nila pa. Puno ako eh. Kaya okay lang ako. Tapos ako, perfect lagi ako.
Birthday naman.
Aks. Okay, tayo na magpatuloy ng ating talakayan. Okay, so here's the guide for determining the ionization of a drug. But in short, nasabi ko na naman sa inyo kung paano. Okay? Next, we have affinity. So affinity is the property of a drug to bind with substances inside the body. In particular, these substances could include our tissues. So ito yung mga examples ng binding na bukod sa kanilang designated na receptor, it could also bind to other substances. Like for example, tissue protein, plasma protein, pwede rin po sa fat like adipose tissue, and minsan sa mismong elements lang like calcium. Tetracycline is known to bind with calcium. So these are also facts or some factors that could affect absorption. Affinity. Okay. Doon naman po tayo sa hindi diffusion. We focused earlier on the main ways on how a drug can be absorbed into the body. But what about other ways? Una, yung paracellular drug diffusion. Ito yung pag-absorb ng gamot doon sa gilid-gilid ng ating cells. Yung mga eskinita ng ating cells, doon sila dumadaan. Ito ay maselan. Hindi siya pangkalahatan. May certain characteristics lang, like those that are less than 500 molecular weight. Those drugs that have less than 500 molecular weight. So those are small drugs. And generally, mabagal ang ating paracellular drug absorption. Ang sunod naman ay ang ating carrier-mediated transport. So when we say carrier-mediated transport, may carrier. Itong mga to ay mga proteins na parang sila yung nagpapasok mismo ng gamot sa loob ng cells. May bayad na ATP, ang gagawin ng carrier, kakabit sa ating gamot, ipapasok sa loob ng cell, then ma-absorb yung ating gamot. Maraming types ng carriers, but the main two types, or the general types, is your influx and your efflux. For your influx, papasok ng cell ang daloy ng ating gamot. So our uptake or our influx move the drug into the blood. Papasok. While efflux, on the other hand, is the other way around. It removes the drug from the bloodstream bago itataboy ulit pabalik. Most of the time, it returns the drug back to the gut lumen. So, uptake, papasok. Pa-increase ang concentration. Kapag efflux, palabas. Pababa ang concentration. Two more specific types. First, we have our active transport. Yung ating active transport, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na magbabayad ng energy, papasok ng cell yung ating gamot. Ang kanyang special ability ay it can go against a concentration gradient, but it requires energy. May mga ilang-ilang drug na active transport ang main way of absorption. Ang problema, pag ganito, you will run into saturatable kinetics. So ito po ang nangyayari. Meron kayong gamot. Yung gamot kakapit sa carrier. Yung carrier papasok ng itatagos yung inyong gamot bago ilalabas yung gamot papuntang blood. Para siyang ferry. Para siyang ferry. Yun na yan. Nabutan nyo ba nung naputol ang tulay? Yung naputol ang tulay na kulumpang? Yung paggaling ka doon sa may St. Bridget, bago pupunta kang SM, bago mag-footbridge, yung sasakay ka muna ng bangka. So parang ganun yung style. Na pagkatapos mo doon sa bangka, nahihilo ka na. Okay? The problem with active transport, it is very selective. Not all drugs are absorbed this way. And sometimes, similar drugs could compete with the same receptor. Similar, meaning magkamag-anak na gamot or kahit magkamuka, they can compete with the same receptor. And it could also be saturated. Itong kabila naman, efflux. Ang efflux, generally kalaban natin. Kasi ang ginagawa ng efflux transporter, nasa loob na ng dugo, ilalabas pabalik. So, ang pinakasikat ay itong ating PGP or our MDR1. It is a efflux transporter that removes the drug from the blood and transfers it back to the lumen. Maraming gamot ang susceptible dito sa PGP na to. Ang sabihin niya actually ng MDR1 ay multi-drug resistant gene 1. It causes drug resistance in people. Ang popular na example lagi ng PGP ay verapamil. Daming graduation ninyo, no? From grade 6, bago junior high, may graduation. Bago junior high, senior high, may graduation. Bago high school, college, graduation ulit. Dami. Mantala kami, grade 6, graduate. High school, graduate. Okay na. Kaya kami nang graduate ng college, naghintay ng lisensya. Bawal kaming mag-practice ng hindi 21A. Eh, 20 ako nagkamera ng lisensya. Nang pumasa ng board, tambay ako ng mga 4 months. May valid akong palusot bakit hindi magtatrabaho. Wala ko lisensya eh. Hindi magtatrabaho. Okay, so these are the drugs that are affected by P-glycoprotein. Verapamil ang pinaka-popular. Next is facilitated diffusion. It's similar to active transport. However, it does not require energy input. Similar to active transport, it is also saturatable. And in terms of drug absorption, it plays a very minor role. So, at least alam nyo lang kung anong ginagawa niya. Next is vesicular transport. For vesicular transport, ito yung kinakain siya ng cell. Hindi ina-absorb ha, literal na kinakain yung cell, yung gamot. So we have pinocytosis and we have phagocytosis. Pag pino, maliit. Pag phago, malaki. Pag endocytosis, paloob ng cell. Pag exocytosis, palabas ng cell. Itong example, yan. So, example, ito yung inyong cell. Ito, phagocytosis, malaki. Parang kakainin ng cell, gaganunin ng cell, yung gamot, ipapasok, bago pag ilalabas, exocytosis na yon. So, endocytosis, ang pasok, exocytosis pa labas. Bago pag phago, malaki. Pag pino, maliit. Yan lang naman po. Kukunti lang din naman yung drugs na ganito ang method of absorption. Most of the time ay mga weird drugs pa. Ito naman, convective transport. This relies on very small molecules. So ito mga to, kasya sa butas ng cell. Very small molecules lang ang pwedeng gumamit ng method na ito. Itong ion pair naman, method of absorption, is kapag ion mismo ang kakapit. Hindi weakly acidic ha, hindi weakly basic. Actual ions. So very limited lang yan. So ang best example nito ay ammonium compounds, NH4+ compounds. So ang ginagawa, similar to facilitated transport, kumakabit, then ipinapasok yung ion. Rare din tong method of absorption na to. Yan na, tapos na po tayo sa principles ng ating drug absorption. Let's now move on to oral drug absorption.